I asked earlier, who has public speaking anxiety? Okay. Or nervousness. Let's not say anxiety. Let's say nervousness. Who gets nervous when they have to speak? Okay. Everybody gets nervous. I was told early in my career, in my 20s, when I was giving a lot of presentations around the country at conferences, the morning you wake up and you're not nervous to give your speech is the morning you better start worrying. You need the nervousness. But you don't need to call it nervousness. You need the adrenaline. And on the list of fears, many of you may have heard this, where do you think public speaking fits? Top of the list. I know. Well, I did, but this is a list. It was from 1987. Maybe things have changed. But heights is very common, but public speaking is number one. And think about this, as Seinfeld has so well said, at a funeral, the average person would rather be in the casket because that's only number 5, I think, of death. But it's worse to give that eulogy and get up. So what do we do about this anxiety about public speaking? Whoops, let me back up to say one thing, is that 74% of the people in the United States do say that they have public speaking anxiety. You're not alone, but what do you do about it? And I've been working for years, and I do years with public speaking classes, and I have all these strategies, but I've started to see, I guess we see things in threes, because that's often how we speak. So I talked about the 3 V's, and I talked about the OLE approach, which is observe, listen, engage. Here's another set of 3s. I started noticing that there are 3 ways to approach the nervousness that you have with public speaking, and I shared that chart with you. It's what do you do before? What goes on in your brain cognitively? And what goes on in your body physiologically? Because that's real. And so we'll start with what do you do before? Well, I think this is fairly obvious. Prepare. If you're not prepared, of course you'll be nervous. Practice. But please, do not practice to the point of memorization. Do not memorize. I've seen way too many people when they do pitches, I coach for pitch competitions, and they don't listen to me, and they memorize, and at one point, they forgot where they were, and they can't figure out how to get back on track. And memorizing is not the best way to do it. Plus, if it were memorized, it sounds that way to the audience. They can hear it's a memorized speech, just the way you're going through it. So be very familiar with it, but don't memorize it. Another thing is greet people. Like I spoke to many of you before this started, not necessarily because I was so nervous, but that's a way to start connecting with your audience. So if you're with an unfamiliar audience, by the time you get up there, you know people in that audience that you've spoken to. And so you may have some little lily pads of friendly faces that you can focus on to make yourself less nervous. But then cognitively, our brain tells us so many different things. We want to have positive self-talk. We want to tell us ourselves, I was asked to speak because I know what I'm talking about. I have the knowledge. I went to school for this. I have the degree. I've worked on this project, whatever it might be. Remind yourself that you're supposed to be the one speaking, that you're entitled to be speaking. There's a reason for it. And then take those jitters or that feeling of nervousness and reframe it. It's not nervousness. It's excitement. So I worked with somebody, I spoke with her company, and I spoke at one of their organizations, and I noticed when she got up to speak, she was giving these awards, and she got up there and she said, and you could see, her hands are shaking, I'm so nervous. I'm thinking, why would you say that? Do they like you that much more because you said that? Right? Just say, I'm so excited to be here. Like if you think of it that way, you start to feel differently. And you don't want people to feel sorry for you. Don't give excuses for the way you're speaking. And then I heard her at another meeting, and it sounded a little artificial, but I loved it because she got up there and she said, I am so excited to be here. And her hands are still shaking, but she had a whole different way of looking at it. All right? And those jitters usually go away after a few seconds. But frame it differently. When the players are in the Super Bowl, and the national anthem is going on, and you see a lot of them, and I had kids in sports, and I used to see that when they were doing the national anthem. They're just ready to go. They're just bouncing in their feet. Do you think they're saying, I'm so nervous. I may miss the goal. No, I'm so excited I got to get out there. I'm all pumped up. And that's what public speaking is, another performance. It's another sport. So that nervousness that you're feeling, think of it as, that's the adrenaline, I'm ready to go because I need this edge to perform. I don't want to be laid back and so low key because I'll put you to sleep. Visualize success. I don't know anybody who's ever died from public speaking, but I did see something recently, and that was the Parkland demonstration, when they had the demonstration or the speeches on the lawn at the Capitol. Did anybody watch that? I actually didn't watch it, but I heard about it and then saw her video. One of the high school students was up there giving a speech. And in the middle of the speech, she's at the lectern, at the middle of the speech, and she gets so excited. And all of a sudden, she throws up. Your biggest nightmare, right? Biggest nightmare. So what did she do? After she was done, she stood up and she looked at the mall filled with people. And she said, I can't believe I threw up in front of all of you people, and I feel great. And I thought, my goodness, this is a high school kid who is so above the curve, ahead of the curve right now, because somebody else might say, I will never speak again the rest of my life. I had a bad experience, I'll never do it again. So it's all how you frame it. Yes?
Best advice I ever got early on was when someone told me, never, ever apologize from the podium.
Absolutely.
Never say, I'm sorry, I got a cold, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm late.
Apologize.
My plane was late. I couldn't finish this. Nobody cares. It just shows you didn't care enough for this audience to perform.
And it makes the audience uneasy.
Yes.
Because they know you're uneasy.
Right.
Because you're apologizing.
Right. It's never, never, never. Thank you for saying that. Never apologize. But I was smitten by the maturity of this high school student to take a situation that could have ruined her and never wanting to speak again, and she just picked herself up and moved on. So that, to me, is one of the worst things that could happen, and it happened, and she was okay. So think about success, and here's the biggest thing. It's not about you. When you're getting up there, when I get up here, it's not about me. It's about, am I giving the message to the audience? Are they getting what I can offer them? And when I start focusing on the audience, I'm not that nervous. All right, because it's all about what I'm doing, not what do you think of me? And that's really key. Physiologically, exercise helps. Get rid of some of the adrenaline. People have had fear of public speaking, like Yul Brynner, the actor, had anxiety about acting and public speaking, believe it or not. Before he'd go on the stage, he'd do push-ups against the wall. Walk a flight of steps. Get rid of some of that energy. You could relax and meditate, but just be careful you don't bring yourself down so low that you're not going to perform. Another strategy is to curl your toes. And these videos are all on my website. I have a video library that has all of these. If you stand there like a tree and curl your toes down to the ground, you're rooting yourself. And a lot of that nervous energy goes to your feet. You also don't pace or sway or throw yourself around. You just feel really solid. And you'll see when you do that, you feel so much more confident. And the final is what I call the crazy eights, but somebody told me recently that they do this in acting school. Has anybody here done acting? A little bit. Crazy eights is taking your four limbs, your hands and your feet, and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. And going through that 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. At that point, if you're not exhausted, you have gotten rid of some of the jitters. So those are the strategies for nervousness. And then I came across this quote. All right? And I think it's great. Regardless of how you feel inside, always try to look like a winner. A sustained look of control and confidence can give you a mental edge that results in victory. Okay, that's sports, but it's not that different for performing and giving a speech. Look confident, look the part, and then you're successful.